let's go to Oklahoma. Hadassah, welcome to the Line of Fire. Thanks so much for calling.
Hi, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Sure thing. So what's your background, Hadassah?
Well, I'm a conservative Jew,
Mm-hmm.
and I enjoy looking at theology, but I'm a current college student, and I just like to ask questions about these kinds of things.
Awesome. I love it. How'd you stumble on our broadcast?
Well, I guess because of my curiosity on the subject, I just watch a lot of videos about this subject, and I happened to stumble across yours, and you debate these kinds of things a lot, so it interests me. You
Sure.
answer more questions than I was able to get otherwise.
All right. Well, let's do it. Let's at least start the conversation here. So how can I help you?
Sure. So I'm wondering, from what I've looked at, there's several references to the Old Testament and the New Testament, and there's many times, even just in the book of John, where it describes that what does it mean to love God, essentially, and that it means to keep His commandments.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering, how does the modern Christian reconcile with these kinds of verses and keeping commandments, and what are the commandments for Christians exactly? I hear sometimes they say it's only the 10 commandments, but maybe in the same breath they'll also condemn homosexuality, which I'm not sure
Sure.
is part of the 10 commandments. I'm wondering, where's the line exactly?
Yeah. So it's actually a really big question, but let me answer it as simply as I can. When you read through the New Testament,
Thank you.
you'll actually find that a large portion of it is drawing from the Old Testament. That was their Bible. These were Jews who were followers of Jesus, Yeshua. They weren't even called Christians for some time, and Christians didn't mean another religion. It was just the way to describe Jews and Gentiles worshiping together, followers of this Christ guy. That's how the outsiders were looking at it. But they were Jews. They were Torah observant Jews. Their Bible was the Tanakh, the Hebrew Bible. And now they were bringing a message to the whole world, to the Gentile world, that the Messiah had come and that Gentiles could be equal heirs, that together Gentiles could share in the heritage and the blessing of the God of Israel and receive forgiveness of sins and new life without having to become Jews. So from day one, it was understood that the Gentiles who became believers did not have to come under the Sinai covenant, did not have to take on the whole yoke of the Torah. Rather, there were fundamental moral laws, and these are now taught through the entire New Testament. Laws of loving God, laws of loving our neighbor, laws of sexual purity, of the sanctity of marriage. That's where, for example, condemnation of homosexual practice would come in. That's Moses, that's Jesus, that's Paul. They would all say the same thing because it's a fundamental violation of God's creation of male, female. But basically, if you'll read through all of the New Testament, you'll find many, many commands, very, very high morality called for, high ethics and things like that, family treatment and husbands and wives relating and children and parents and things like that. So that's what's reiterated, and that's for everybody. Jewish believers in Jesus, many times, in keeping with our heritage, feel it's important to continue to identify as Jews, as the first followers of Jesus did, and therefore they'll follow the biblical calendar. Some will meet in what you call a Messianic congregation that would meet on Shabbat and would celebrate Passover and things like that because it's part of our biblical heritage. But in the midst of that, we see Jesus as the one who brings it all to fulfillment, who brings it to its fullest meaning. And then we go back to Jeremiah 31 that speaks of God making a new covenant with the house of Israel and the house of Judah. So we understand that we're no longer under the Sinai covenant. We don't have a standing temple. We don't need physical blood sacrifices. We don't stone people to death for violating the Sabbath and things like that. We're under a new and better covenant. And in this new and better covenant, God puts his commands in our hearts, and it becomes our nature to follow him and love him and serve him. So as Jews, we continue to have our heritage, but we're under a new and better covenant. Just like there are Jewish traditions about in the world to come or in the Messianic era, certain things might change, or change in dietary laws, or change in sacrificial system because of new realities. So we say with the new reality of the Messiah coming into the world, it has changed certain things. But God's commandments are important to us, and you get them through reading through the entire New Testament. And then you'll see it reinforces the great majority of what's taught in the Hebrew Bible, in particular the high moral standards and the high ethics. Those are reinforced and taken even further.